नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासा ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवते सेव्या। भागवते उत्तमा श्लोके भक्ति भवति नैष्टिकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 2, Chapter 3, text number 14. The chapter is titled Pure Devotional Service. Saunaka uvacha iti abhivyaritam raja. 14. Text number 14. Etat shusrusatam vidvan. Shusrusatam vidvan. Etat shusrusatam vidvan. Sutana arasi bhasitam. Bhasitum. Sutana arasi bhasitum. Katha hari katho darka. Satam shu sadasi dhruvam. Etat shusrusatam vidvan. Sutano arasi bhasitum. Katha hari katho darkaha. Satam shu sadasi dhruvam. Etat shusrusatam vidvan. Sutano arasi bhasitum. Katha hari katho darka. Satam shu sadasi dhruva. Please chant. Etat shusrutam vidvan.
Sutazorasi bhasitam. Katha hari katho darka. Satam chusasadi dhruvam. Etat chusastram vidvan. Sutano arshi bhasitam. Kada hari kato darka. Satam syusadasi dhruvam. Eta chusustram vidvan. Sutano arshi bhasitam. Katha hari kato darka. Satam shu sadasi dhruvam. Eta chusustram sata vidvan. Soto no arhasi bhashitam. Kata hari kato darka. Satam syusa sadasi durvam.
Etat, this,
This
Shushrusatam, of those eager to hear. Vidvan, O learned, Sutaha, Suta Goswami, Naha, unto us, Aharasi, may you do it. Bhasitum, just to explain it. Kathaha, topics. Hari Katha Udarka, Udarka, result in the topics of the Lord. Satam, of the devotees. Shu, maybe. Sadasi, in the assembly of. Dhruvam, certainly. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta, Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O learned Sutta Goswami, please continue to explain such topics to us, because we are all eager to hear. Besides that, topics which result in the discussion of the Lord Hari should certainly be discussed in the assembly of devotees. Please repeat. O learned Sutta Goswami, please continue to explain such topics to us, because we are all eager to hear. Besides that, topic which result in the discussion of the Lord Hari should certainly be discussed in the assembly of devotees. Purport. As we have already quoted above from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu of Rupa Goswami, even mundane things, if detailed in the service of the Lord Sri Krishna, are accepted as transcendental. For example, the epics or the histories of Ramayana and Mahabharata, which are specifically recommended for the less intelligent classes. Women, Shudras and unworthy sons of the higher caste are also accepted as Vedic literature because they are compiled in connection with the activities of the Lord. Mahabharata is accepted as the fifth division of the Vedas after its first four divisions, namely Sama, Yaju, Rig and Atharva. The less intelligent do not accept Mahabharata as part of the Vedas, but great sages and authorities accept it as the fifth division of the Vedas. Bhagavad Gita is also a part of the Mahabharata, and it is full of the Lord's instruction for the less intelligent class of man. Some less intelligent men say that Bhagavad Gita is not meant for householders. But such foolish men forget that Bhagavad Gita was explained to Arjuna, a grahastha, family man, and spoken by the Lord in his role as a grahastha. So Bhagavad Gita also, although containing the high philosophy of the Vedic wisdom, is for the beginners in the transcendental science. And Srimad Bhagavatam is for graduates and postgraduates in the transcendental science. Therefore, literatures like Mahabharata, the Puranas, and similar other literatures, which are full of the pastimes of the Lord, are all transcendental literatures. And they should be discussed with full confidence in the society of great devotees. The difficulty is that such literatures, when discussed by professional men, appear to be mundane literature, like histories or epics, because there are so many historical facts and figures. It is said here, therefore, that such literatures should be discussed in the assembly of devotees. Unless they are discussed by devotees, such literatures cannot be relished by the higher class of man. So the conclusion is that the Lord is not impersonal in the ultimate issue. He is a supreme person and he has his different activities. He is the leader of all living entities and he descends at his own will and by his personal energy to reclaim the fallen souls. Thus he plays exactly like the social, political or religious leaders, because such roles ultimately culminate in the discussion of the topics of the Lord. All such preliminary topics are also transcendental. That is the way of spiritualizing the civic activities of human society. Men have inclinations for studying history and many other mundane literatures, stories, fiction, dramas, magazines, newspapers, etc. So let them be dotted with the transcendental service of the Lord, and all of them will turn to the topics relished by all devotees. The propaganda that the Lord is impersonal, that he has no activity, and that he is a dumb stone without any name and form has encouraged people to become godless, faithless demons, and the more they deviate from the deviate from the transcendental activities of the Lord, the more they become accustomed to mundane activities that only clear their path to hell instead of return them home back to Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam begins from the history of the Pandavas with necessary politics and social activities. And yet Srimad Bhagavatam is said to be the Paramahansa Samhita, or the Vedic literature meant for the topmost transcendentalists. And it describes Param Jnanam, the highest transcendental knowledge. Pure devotees of the Lord are all Paramahansa, and they are like the swans who know the art of sucking milk out of a mixture of milk and water. There's a note, footnote. Even 50 years ago, the social structure of all Indians was so arranged that they would not read any literature that was not connected with the activities of the Lord. They would not play any drama not connected with the Lord. They would not organize a fair or ceremony not connected with the Lord. Nor would they visit a place that was not holy and sanctified by the pastimes of the Lord. Therefore, even the common man in the village would talk about Ramayana and Mahabharata, Gita and Bhagavatam, even from his very childhood. But by the influence of the age of Kali, they have been dragged to the civilization of the dogs and hogs, laboring for our bread without any sense of transcendental knowledge. Om Agnana Timinandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurmatan Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sva Padantikam Etat Shushusatam Vidvan Sutana Arasi Bhasitum Kata Hari Kathodarkaha Satam Shiv Sadasi Dhruvam. O learned Sutta Goswami, please continue to explain such topics to us because we are all eager to hear. Because besides that, topics which result in the discussion of the Lord Hari should certainly be discussed in the assembly of devotees. Yeah. So this chapter very nicely is titled Pure Devotional Service. And having heard Srimad Bhagvatam in the assembly of devotees, when Sukadeva Goswami recited Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, Sutta Goswami is approached by the sages of Naimisharanya, headed by Saunaka Rishi. And, and that's how we see here the address where the sages headed by Saunaka Rishi is requesting Sutta Goswami to discuss, to continue to explain topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right. The topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are like ever fresh, Nava Yava Yavanam Cha. Just like the Lord is ever fresh, Nava Yava Yavanam Cha, always fresh, always young. So similarly, the topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead never become stale. Never that, oh, okay, this was spoken thousands of years back, or this happened thousands of years back, so it has no relevance now. No. It had relevance at that time, it is relevant today, and it will be relevant in the future. The topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead never become stale. Right? They're always fresh. That's one thing. And the another thing is, it can be relished more when it is discussed among devotees. When it is heard by devotees, Srila Prabhupada makes it a point here that even so-called histories like Mahabharata and Ramayana, they are histories. They are epics, histories. Something which has happened in the past. Historical facts. That also becomes relishable because it is in connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those historical facts, the epics, becomes relishable when it is discussed by the devotees. And Srila Prabhupada mentions that especially Mahabharata is mentioned as a Pancham Veda. The Vedas are divided, initially being one Veda, Yajur Veda, and then it is divided among 4 Vedas. Right? Sama Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda, and Rig Veda. Right? So Mahabharata is also considered as a Pancham Veda. Why? Because it talks about the topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Bhagavad Gita is also spoken right at the beginning of the Mahabharata war as the instruction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by Lord Sri Krishna, right, to his devotee Arjuna. So Srila Prabhupada also refutes the point where, of those who claim that, oh, Bhagavad Gita, the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita is not meant for grahasthas. It's just meant for brahmacharis and sannyasis. Right? Many times people say that, oh, these instructions, oh no. We have to live our, we have to take care of our family. Right? We have to take care of our family. We have to work. Right? We have to go to job. So it is not meant, this instruction of Bhagavad Gita is not meant for grahasthas. It is meant only for those who are the monks, the brahmacharis, the celibate, or the sannyasis, the renunciate. Right? People argue like that. And Srila Prabhupada refutes it here that Bhagavad Gita was the instruction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to Arjuna, who was a grahastha, and was spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who also appeared as grahastha. So how can one say that it is not meant for grahasthas? It is meant for all classes of men. It is meant for all classes of men. Chaturvanyama Srishtam Gunakarma Vibhagashaha. Right? And the Lord mentions that this entire material nature divided Gunakarma Vibhagashaha based on Guna and Karma in 4 ashramas and 4 varnas. Right? The 4 ashramas being Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. The 4 varnas being Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudra. So the instructions are meant for all classes of men, not only this class or that class. It's meant for all classes of men, especially the Brahmanas. Especially the Brahmanas. Right? Bhagavad Gita is a more advanced topic otherwise. Yeah, it's a more advanced topic. In the sense, it was spoken to Arjuna, who was just not an ordinary person, saintly king, right? Part of the saintly kingdom. Rajarshis, right? Rajarshis. Raja Vidya Raja Guyam Pavitram. What is that? Raja Vidya Raja Guyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyaksha Avagamam Dharmam Susakam Kartuma Vayat. So Raja Vidya is the king of all knowledge. The teachings of Bhagavad Gita is the king of all knowledge. In the 8th chapter or in the 10th chapter, 8th verse, Mat Chitta Mat Gata Prana Bodhyantas Parasparam Katanti Cha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. The topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be relished more and more when it is discussed in the assembly of devotees. When it is discussed in the assembly of devotees, heard by the lips of a devotee. Otherwise, the same topics being heard by professional reciters would appear more like just a drama, a social activity, and a political drama. The entire Mahabharata Ramayana would appear more as a political drama if it is done by professional reciters or the professional people without tinge of bhakti. But if it is done with the tinge of bhakti, it is dotted in the service of the Supreme Personality of God, and the same topics can be relished and higher instructions can be portrayed from that. Right? Higher instructions can be portrayed from that. And the same instructions can flow through all classes of men. We see Bhagavad Gita being taught in schools, in colleges, in places not in India, even somewhere where in Holland, the Bhagavad Gita was made mandatory in some schools. Right. So that's the potency. That's the potency of Bhagavad Gita. It's not that old. It's a historical fact. It happened 5,000 years back. It has no relevance now. No, it will be relevant for all times. Yeah. Are there any questions? No questions, no discussions. It's a long purport. Yes. Yeah, could be that whoever is teaching could be devotees also. We don't know.
Yeah, it could be either way.
Yeah, it could be either way. Yeah, so that being taught, the same Bhagavad Gita can be interpreted in different ways depending upon the teacher. Right? Just like we see where Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakta Madhyaji Mam Namaskaru verse is there. And Srila Prabhupada, before he translated his Bhagavad Gita, was referring Radha Krishna's Bhagavad Gita. Right, it was an ex-president. And he mentioned that the translation of it, more or less, is 95% correct. But what does in the commentary Radhakrishna mention? That Lord is mentioning that surrender on Manmana Bhavana Bhakta, always think about me within your mind. Surrender unto me. Okay? And what is Radhakrishna interpreting it? That do not surrender unto that which is within Krishna, as if differentiating that which is within Krishna apart from Krishna. Krishna is completely supreme, Bhagavan is completely spiritual, the Supreme Person of Godhead. Krishna is not just a living entity who came and ultimately one day he will realize that he is supreme. No, he was supreme from the beginning. When he appeared, was supreme even before his appearance. When he appeared, he was supreme, and will be supreme even after his appearance. He always remains supreme. He does not need a certificate of somebody that, I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No, he's always. And he's recognized by all authorities. Asita, Devala, Narada, is recognized by all authorities. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right. So, depends completely on, as you mentioned, the speaker can completely either give the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, or can deviate from that. Using the same book, he can get a separate interpretation. So, that's why it is important that one hears Bhagavad Gita from devotees. One discusses these transcendental topics amongst devotees. It's not an ordinary topic. It's a transcendental topic because it's in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shri Shri Radha Shyam Sundar ki jai, Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Shri Panch Tattva ki jai. All the way. Hari Kirtan. Hari Kirtan. Yeah. Is that all right? Yeah. Any other question, discussion? Yes, Mother.
I'd have to look at the Bhagavatam too. But it concerned it's talking about the Vedic literature base, and it used this term, I think it was Pancharatrika?
Pancharatrika Vidhi.
Yeah, and it was saying that we should see that this is one of Prabhupada's purports in the chapter that describes Diti and Kashyapa Muni. Was saying that we should see I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. It really confused me. It was kind of praising the Pancharatrika versus...
There are two vidhis, Bhagavad Vidhi and Pancharatrika Vidhi. In the Pancharatrika Vidhi, the chanting of the holy name is also there in the Pancharatrika Vidhi. As well as deity worship is there in Pancharatrika Vidhi. In the Bhagavad Vidhi, it's Yeah. Look that up. Phone. Yeah, well, that's Vaidhi Bhakti, Bhagavad Vidhi and Pancharatrika Vidhi. Let me.
I wish I had brought it with me.
Pancharatrika.
It's basically,
The temple worship is clearly an element of Pancharatrika Vidhi, right?
Prabhupada is definitely praising it in this purport. I got the sense that he was praising it above the Vedic literatures or something. I don't know. It's something
The rules of the
about-
Pancharatra are specifically meant to regulate our activities, mind and senses, and thus help us to understand we are not the body, we are ultimately a servant of Krishna. Personal purification is one of the main results of deity worship. Srila Prabhupada writes, the temple worship will keep us sanctified, and when we shall preach in sanctified pure heart, the preaching will be immediately effective. So we have to follow the two parallel lines simultaneously for successful execution of devotional service. So two parallel lines are Pancharatrika Vidhi and Bhagavad Vidhi. The Pancharatrika Vidhi talks about deity worship, following rules and regulations. So deity worship, even chanting specified numbers of round, following rules and regulations, that's also Pancharatrika Vidhi.
So is it actually, we don't read it though, right? I mean, do we have a translation of the Pancharatrika?
No, it is
Or
it's a process. It's not a necessarily a literature. It's a process.
Oh, I see.
Vidhi means a way of life.
Okay.
It's a way of life. You may be confusing yourself with Pancharatras. That's different from Pancharatrika Vidhi. The Narada Pancharatra, Narad Muni wrote different rules, different things which substantiates those rules. That's called Narada Pancharatra. That's different from Pancharatrika Vidhi.
Okay.
Pancharatrika Vidhi is a way of life which talks of, follows rules and regulations. And in that way of life comes deity worship, chanting.
So then that way of life may be described in the Nectar of Devotion
Sure,
or in any of Prabhupada's purports.
sure. I'm sure in Nectar of Devotion is described Pancharatrika Vidhi, Bhagavad Vidhi.
So then it's not a specified body of literature. It is.
No, it's not a specified body of
it's-
literature. No, it's a
more
process.
a concept,
It's a process.
a process. I see. Okay.
It's a process. It's not a literature. Narada Pancharatra is a literature, but Pancharatrika Vidhi is not a literature.
Okay.
It's a process.
I see.
Yeah?
Okay. Thank
Okay. Any other points, discussions? Yes, Prabhu.
To Arjun when war was about to start between Kauravas and Pandavas. Yeah, and
Please.
this was preached by Lord Krishna to Arjun before war, and it is kind of rational or logical that God may have given him key points. Okay, this is the way of life, and this is a way of your. This should be a way of your thinking, and you have to fight a war. So we understand that it may be such say a few minutes to an hour of discussion, right? Maybe, but we see the processes, we see different kind of interpretations. We see number of different ways to follow Lord. So, is it been elaborated or interpreted by different people at different times? And today, what we see is a huge processes. Is it kind of something like the Lord himself gave all the processes, or it is different people, different sages who gave all these processes?
Very good question. So Lord spoke Bhagavad Gita, the 700 verses. Lord spoke. Now your question is, how in the middle of the war, when there is probably an hour, the 700 verses got spoken.
Yeah.
When we speak 700 verses, it takes 2.5 hours. When we do the Gita Jayanti Yagya, it takes us 2.5 hours to speak. And here, the Lord is speaking Bhagavad Gita and is explaining to Arjuna in a poetic way. It's not that when Lord Krishna explained that to Arjuna, he started doing translation and purport and all. He just spoke the verses. He spoke verses, and then Arjuna also asked questions in form of a verse. Arjuna Vacha, and then we see that Arjuna Vacha, and then Arjuna is asking.
Yes.
And it's a poetry in one sense, that entire but in that poetry, the entire instructions is given to Arjuna. That okay, Arjuna is saying, Ratam Sena Ubayo Madhye Ratam Sapame Uchate. Oh Lord, please, no, he takes the position of a charioteer. Please take my chariot. I mean the two armies. I want to see all the people who are assembled on both sides. And he sees the people who are assembled on both sides, right? And suddenly it further described that slowly and slowly, who is describing that? Sanjay is describing that to Dhritarashtra. That Arjuna, after seeing all these people assembled on both sides, slowly and slowly he becomes weak. Gandhi starts slipping from his hand. And he sits down saying, I don't want to fight the war. Right. And that's how then Krishna encourages him to fight the war by explaining him the process of yoga. So then Bhagavad Gita, the entire 18 chapters are different forms of yoga. In the first 6 chapters, he explains Karma Yoga, culminating in also summarizes different forms of yoga and culminates that into Ashtanga Yoga. The last 6 chapters, he explains Jnana Yoga. And the middle 6 chapters, chapter 7 to chapter 12, he explains Bhakti Yoga. Right. And explaining all this yoga, from all points, he kind of mentions to Arjuna that, hey, you need to fight this war. It's just not an ordinary war. It's a Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra. Mentioned that we are assembled here at the place of pilgrimage Kurukshetra, and it's a Dharma Kshetra. The potency is there, but at the same time, this is a Dharma war. War for what is just and what is not just. Okay, you have all your spiritual master, grandfather, so many cousins, and all those present on the other side. But ultimately, we are not this body. We are the soul. You are looking at these relationships just on the bodily platform. So rise above that. And from different angles, he explains him why fighting this war is necessary. So it's a conversation between Arjuna and Krishna, but through him, Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita for everybody. He mentions in 4th chapter that I spoke this science to Vivaswan, sun god. And it is passed on in disciplic succession, but over a period of time it was broken. So I am speaking to you again to again give the real message, because the message in between was broken. Right? So again I am establishing. And one of the purpose of the Lord's appearance is yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamiham. Right? Whenever there is a decline in religion, he appears to establish religious principles, to deliver the pious, paritrana sadhunam, to annihilate the miscreants, vinasyaja duskritam, dharma sanstapna arthaya. So, it's and through Arjuna, it's a message for all of us. How at each and every moment we face that war-like symptom. And we are poised, whether should I fight this war? Should I take care of my family? Or should I go to job? Or should I do this? How do I connect all these things in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Should I just go to a forest? Arjuna wanted to do the same thing. If you are telling me to all this thing, and on one side you are telling me to fight the war, on the other side you are telling me that, oh, this is higher. What should I do? Fight the war or so Lord Krishna explains, if we give up the activity without sufficiently purified, will be like Markat Vairagya, monkey renunciation. See, if you give up the activity and say, oh, okay, everybody is saying that Vrindavan is such a nice place, that I should practice spirituality in Vrindavan. But if you are not sufficiently purified, what would happen? In Vrindavan, you will still hanker for, oh, okay, is there Baskin Robbins here? Is there some pizza place here? No, because your mind is not completely purified yet. Right. And though you may be sitting right on the banks of Radhakund, you may be thinking about, oh, the stock price. Oh, I have this stock. How did the stock price go? Or a cricket match. Right? Because you're not sufficiently purified. So many attractions are there. So, ultimately, to Arjuna he is explaining that you fight the war. You do your duty. Do not be attached to the results of your duty. So initially he explains to him Karma Yoga. Then he brings him to the platform of, okay, Karma Yoga, you are doing your activity and giving the results to the Lord, but you don't have sufficient knowledge of the Lord. That who that activity is going to, who the results are going to. Then you come on the Jnana Yoga platform where you, through your mental speculation, starts thinking about, oh, who is that person to whom the results are going to? And based on mental speculation, you start negating it. Oh, it's not going to this, it's not going to this, it's not going to this. Right? Philosophical logic. That's a Jnana Yoga platform. And then you come to the Ashtanga Yoga platform. That, okay, there is, I hear that from the Jnana Yoga, there should be a Lord, something vast, infinite, impersonal feature. So let me think about him. and meditate on Him within me. Right? But how do I meditate of the Lord within me when all my senses are dragging me here and there? So you start doing the Ashtanga Yoga process. Yam, Niyam, you follow rules and regulations and you start performing austerities. Ultimately you come to the Samadhi where you see the Lord within you as a Paramatma form. But Arjuna says, oh, when Krishna described this 5,000 years back, Arjuna says, oh, this process is very, very difficult. I can control the wind, but to control the mind, it's so chanchal, I cannot control. I can control the wind, but not the mind. And what does Krishna say? Does Krishna say that, oh, no, it's easy? No. Krishna says, yes, it's very difficult. But you have to, abhyas yogena kaunteya, you have to practice. He does not say that, oh, controlling the mind is very easy. No, it's difficult. Abhyas yogena kaunteya, regularly you practice. So that you can control the mind. And then culmination of the 6th chapter describes all this yoga, and it says, yoginam api sarvesham madhagatantra atmanam. I described you all this yoga, but ultimately that who think yoginam api sarvesham, that yogi is our topmost, who thinks of me within him. Madhagata antaratmanam. He worships me. Saddhavan bhajate yomam. Same yukta tamamata. For my opinion, that yogi is the topmost. And then he starts explaining the Bhakti Yoga process. From 7th chapter to 12th chapter, we just see continuously Krishna is explaining Bhakti Yoga process. Right. So, initially for us to do our duties is essential for our purification. But slowly and slowly, we have to be detached from the results of our duties and totaling that results to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We don't have sufficient knowledge who that Supreme Personality of Godhead is. But slowly and slowly, then on that platform you can start performing bhakti. But Krishna does speak Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. So it's 700 verses. No, it's on the spiritual realm. We can scratch our head, oh, how is it possible? I've been struggling to complete 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagvatam, probably in 10 years or something. And here, Sukadeva Goswami spoke Srimad Bhagavatam in 7 days and night to Parikshit Maharaj. 18,000 verses. How is it possible? Right. So that's like, have you heard that story of the Brahman and the cobbler? Narad Muni going to this Brahman who is performing rituals, right? And Narad Muni saying that I'm going to see Lord Vishnu. Do you want me to ask him anything? No. So look, Brahman is saying, yeah, just find out what he's doing. I would like to know what he's doing in the spiritual world. The same a cobbler. So when he comes back, he tells the Brahmana that what is he doing? He is passing the elephant to the eye of a needle. And the Brahmana is not ready to accept that. And he asked that, oh, did you ask, after which lifetime I'll go back to Godhead? Many, many lifetimes. While to the cobbler, as soon as he mentions that, oh, okay, he's passing the elephant to the eye of a needle, he immediately accepts that. And Narad Muni is asking, that you have no doubts that he can pass the elephant to the eye of a needle? How is it possible? elephant is so huge and the eye of a needle is so small. How is it possible that he can pass the elephant with the eye of a needle? He said, I am sitting underneath a banyan tree and I see so many seeds of the banyan tree. And in each and every of those seeds is entire long banyan trees put there. See, if that is possible by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what is so difficult for him to pass this elephant to the eye of a needle? So it is understood from that angle that, oh, how is that? No, it cannot be understood from a mundane platform that, oh, how is it possible that, oh, he spoke 700 verses in that short span? Or, no, he did this Herculean task in such a limited thing. He lifted Govardhan Hill on his pinky, right? How is it possible? And people will ask that. I remember one time when I was going to Vrindavan in a train, somebody asked me, where are you going? I said, oh, Vrindavan. No, there's Giras, there's this, that. Oh, there's a big hill Krishna lifted. Oh, must be very small so that he can lift it, right? Because it was just a child, 7 years old. But even now, the entire parikrama is 14 miles, so it's not small. At that time it was so big, huge. Yeah, Krishna lifted. Okay, everything is possible by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even time, in the spiritual realm, time is also not there. Right, in the material realm, time is there. In the spiritual realm, time is also not there. Yeah. Is that all right? Yes. So we do accept that 700 verses were spoken. Though we see that in a concise form, he did speak Chatusloki Bhagavad Gita. In 4 verses, he spoke the essence. But still, the entire dialogue did happen. Yeah? Hare Krishna. Any other discussions? Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanande.